Virgo, stop. Stop searching for them in your notifications. Stop replaying the last conversation, hunting for the moment where the temperature dropped. Stop telling yourself that their silence is just busyness, just distraction, just the chaotic rhythm of a modern life that sometimes forgets to text back. It is none of those things. What is happening right now is deliberate. It is calculated. It is a withdrawal so absolute, so surgical, so violently opposed to every instinct in their body that the force required to maintain it is literally rewriting their cellular structure. They are staying away from you, Virgo, not because they want to, not because they have moved on, not because someone else has captured their attention, or because the chapter has peacefully closed. They are staying away because they looked at you, truly looked, and in that looking, the floor of their reality fell through. They realized, with a devastation that has left them trembling in private, that they are in love with you. Not the casual, decorative love of convenience, not the sleepy attachment of habit, not the ego-driven hunger to possess. They realize they are in love with you in a way that rearranges destiny, a way that frightens the dead awake, a way that made them understand in the same breath that the knowing arrived, that they cannot stay. And Virgo, before I pull you into the dark cathedral of the reason why, before I show you the but that is keeping them pinned to the other side of your absence, if your chest just tightened, if your breath stopped at the exact frequency of recognition, if the silence you have been enduring suddenly made a sound like a scream wrapped in velvet, then anchor yourself here. Support this channel by liking this transmission, subscribing, and leaving your energy in the comments below. These messages are soul-specific missiles, Virgo. They navigate through every distraction to find the one heart that is meant to intercept them. Your engagement keeps this frequency alive, and what is coming next will change the way you understand every goodbye you have ever received. Now, listen to me with a focus that borders on ferocity. This is not a normal withdrawal. This is not someone pulling back because the feelings faded. This is the opposite. This is someone pulling back because the feelings became too loud, too bright, too undeniable. They reached a point, Virgo, where the simple act of being near you became a spiritual emergency. Every time you spoke, they heard the voice of a future they did not believe they were allowed to have. Every time you laughed, they felt the vibration of a joy they knew they could not sustain. Every time you looked at them with that open, assessing, deeply perceptive Virgo gaze, they felt seen, truly seen. Stripped of every mask, every defense, every carefully constructed persona they have used to navigate the world, and being seen by you did not feel like a relief. It felt like a verdict. It felt like the final judgment in a trial they did not know they were standing. And the verdict was this: you are the one. You are the home. You are the end of the road. And they are terrified, not of you, never of you. They are terrified of what loving you demands. They are terrified of the person they would have to become to stand beside you. They are terrified of the healing they would have to undergo, the shadows they would have to integrate, the lies they would have to abandon. Because Virgo, you do not accept fragments. You do not build with broken promises and half-truths. You construct with precision. You love with integrity. You show up with consistency. And this person knows, with a knowing that lives in the marrow of their bones, that to truly be with you would require a total renovation of their entire being. Not a weekend project, not a fresh coat of paint, a demolition, a gutting, a tearing down of every wall they built to survive a life that taught them love was loss, that closeness was captivity, that vulnerability was a trapdoor into humiliation. They looked at the blueprint of what it would take to deserve you, and they panicked, not because the blueprint was unclear, but because it was terrifyingly clear. And so they ran not toward someone else, toward nothing, toward silence, toward the hollow, echoing space where they do not have to face the mirror of your expectations. But, Virgo, here is the but. Here is the twist that makes this silence so much darker, so much more complex, so much more agonizing than a simple case of fear. They are not just staying away because they are afraid of their own inadequacy. They are staying away because they have convinced themselves that their absence is a gift. They have woven a narrative so intricate, so seductively noble, so spiritually grandiose, that they have actually begun to believe they are doing you a favor by breaking your heart. They believe they are your karmic obstacle, your final test, the dark catalyst that forces you to become who you were meant to be without them. They have looked at your potential, your trajectory, your rising power, and they have concluded insanely, arrogantly, devastatingly that their presence in your life would hold you back, that their wounds would infect your progress, that their chaos would dim your light. And so they have appointed themselves the architect of your awakening. They have decided that the greatest act of love they can offer is to disappear, to become the ghost that haunts you into greatness, to be the absence that teaches you self-sufficiency, to be the wound that never heals so that you never stop growing. They are staying away because they love you, Virgo, but they are staying away because they believe that love, when it comes from them, is a poison disguised as nectar. They believe they are cursed, that they carry an inherited darkness, a karmic debt, a pattern of destruction that follows their devotion like a shadow. They have loved before, and in their mind, those loves ended in ruin. Not necessarily because of their actions, but because their presence seemed to coincide with the collapse of whatever they touched. They have internalized a story about themselves, that they are the storm, not the shelter, that they are the lesson, not the reward. And when they felt themselves falling into the abyss of their love for you, when they felt the ground of their solitude crack open and reveal a hunger to merge with your soul, they did what a person with that belief system does. They grabbed the nearest weapon and aimed it at the connection. They chose to be the villain in your story because they genuinely believe that being the villain is the only way to ensure you win. They think they are saving you from themselves. They think they are being noble. They think the tears they cry in private, the sleepless nights, the way they grip their steering wheel until their knuckles turn white to stop themselves from driving to your door, all of this is the price of their devotion. They are martyring themselves on the altar of your future, and they expect the universe to applaud their sacrifice. They are watching you, Virgo, from a distance so carefully maintained it would impress a military strategist. They have not blocked you, because blocking would require a finality they cannot stomach. Instead, they have entered a state of suspended animation. They check your social media with a hunger that makes them sick to their stomach. They ask about you through intermediaries, disguising their concern as casual interest. They show up in places where they know you might be, but they stay in the periphery, in the shadows, in the corners where they can see you without being seen. They are memorizing your evolution. They are tracking your growth with a mixture of awe and agony. Every post that shows you thriving, every photo where you look radiant, every indication that you are moving forward without them confirms their delusion. They point to your success and say, "See, she is better without me. He is shining because I am not there to cast a shadow." They take your resilience as evidence of their own necessity as your absence. They take your strength as proof that their withdrawal was divinely ordained. And every time you falter, every time you post something vulnerable or sound tired in a voice note, they feel a sick surge of hope. Maybe she needs me. Maybe he is not as okay as he looks. Maybe my sacrifice is not complete. Maybe I still have a role to play. It is a grotesque dance, Virgo. A dance where your healing becomes their justification and your pain becomes their permission. They are suffering, Virgo. Do not doubt that. What you are experiencing as silence, they are experiencing as a scream trapped in a sealed room. They have not found peace in their absence. They have found a war zone. Their days are divided into before they realize they loved you and after. After is a landscape of ash. They go through the motions of their life like a ghost haunting their own body. They smile at colleagues and feel nothing. They eat meals that taste like sand. They lie in beds that feel like coffins because the only sleep that ever felt like rest was the sleep they took beside you or near you or in the knowledge that you were theirs to reach for. Now there is no reaching. There is only the burning discipline of restraint. They have set up internal alarm systems that trigger the moment they think of texting you. They have enlisted friends to talk them down. They have written letters they will never send, pouring out confessions that would fill a novel, then burning them or deleting them or hiding them in drawers where they become a shrine to their own cowardice. They are drowning in the love they refuse to express, and they call this drowning virtue. And Virgo, the most dangerous part of all is that some part of you believes them. Some part of you has absorbed their silence as a comment on your worth. You have been telling yourself that if they really loved you, they would fight. If they really wanted you, they would overcome their fear. If you were truly enough, your presence would be enough to heal whatever brokenness they carry. And those thoughts are lies. They are the collateral damage of a person's decision to make you collateral damage in their own internal war. You are not the cure for their delusion. You are not the reward they will receive once they finally learn to love themselves. You are not a prize to be claimed only after they have slain every dragon in their psyche. You are a human being, a sovereign being, a Virgo who has worked too hard on your own wholeness to become the motivation for someone else's reluctant healing journey. Their absence is not a gift, it is a wound. And a wound does not become a gift simply because the person who inflicted it calls it sacrifice. I want you to understand the mechanics of what is actually happening because your Virgo mind needs architecture. This person is not engaged in noble self-denial. They are engaged in spiritual avoidance. By framing their withdrawal as a sacrifice for your highest good, they avoid the actual work of transformation. They avoid the terrifying, humbling, ego-shattering labor of becoming someone who could stand beside you without feeling swallowed. They avoid the risk of showing up imperfect, of being seen in their mess, of trusting that your love might actually hold them while they heal. It is much easier to disappear and call it destiny than to stay and become worthy. Much easier to be the tragic figure who loved too deeply to stay than to be the accountable partner who does the daily, boring, brutal work of building something real. Their narrative of noble absence is a luxury they afford themselves at your expense. It allows them to feel like the hero of a story where you are merely the prize they nobly forfeited, but you are not a prize, Virgo. You are the protagonist, and their departure is not the climax of your story. It is a plot point, a detour, a test of whether you will chase them into their delusion or continue walking towards your own horizon. They think they are the dark night of your soul, Virgo. They think their absence is the crucible that will forge you into diamond. But they are wrong. The dark night of your soul is not a person. It is a season. And this season was not sent by them. It was sent by the universe to teach you that your light does not depend on their witness, that your growth is not a reaction to their departure, that you were ascending before they arrived, you were ascending while they were present, and you are ascending now that they are gone. Their absence has not created your evolution. It has simply removed the distraction of their chaos so that you can hear your own voice more clearly. And that voice is saying, I am enough. I was always enough. And I do not need someone to break me in order to build me. But here is what they do not expect, Virgo. Here is the cosmic joke that is being written in real time. The love they feel for you is not a static thing. It is alive. It is growing in the dark of their silence, like a fungus, like a tumor, like a beautiful, terrible bloom that feeds on the very distance they are trying to create. Every day they stay away, the love gets louder. Every day they deny themselves your presence, the hunger gets sharper. They think that time and distance will erode what they feel. They think that if they just wait long enough, the intensity will fade into a manageable nostalgia. But it is not fading. It is mutating. It is becoming something that no longer resembles human affection. It is becoming obsession. It is becoming worship. It is becoming a religion with no rituals except the ritual of thinking about you. They are praying to your memory. They are confessing to your absence. They are taking communion in the form of photographs and half-remembered conversations. And the irony is exquisite. The very distance they created to protect you from their darkness is becoming the darkness itself. They are not saving you from their love. They are being consumed by it. And consumption is not noble. It is not sacrifice. It is simply the inevitable result of trying to dam a river that was meant to flow. They are going to break, Virgo. The silence will not hold. The dam they built with their own two hands, using bricks of fear and mortar of self-loathing, is already cracking. I see the leaks. I see the way their resolve crumbles at 3 a.m. when the rest of the world is asleep and they are alone with the full crushing magnitude of what they have done. I see them reaching for their phone, typing your name into the search bar, hovering over the message thread like a penitent at a shrine. I see them driving past your neighborhood, telling themselves they are just taking a shortcut, knowing they are performing a pilgrimage. I see them in conversations with strangers, hearing your name in words that do not sound like your name, seeing your face in crowds where you cannot possibly be. The love they tried to bury is haunting them. It is walking the halls of their solitude with heavy footsteps. It is sitting in the chair across from them at dinner. It is lying in their bed, taking up space, breathing their air, refusing to be exorcised. And the haunting is not gentle. It is not the soft melancholy of a love lost. It is the active, aggressive, relentless presence of a truth that will not be denied. They are realizing, too late, that love is not a choice you can unmake by disappearing. It is a covenant you signed in a language older than your fear, and the covenant demands fulfillment. When they break, Virgo, they are going to come back. not gracefully, not healed, not as the transformed partner you deserve. They are going to come back raw. They are going to come back desperate. They are going to come back with a confession that pours out of them like blood from a wound they can no longer staunch. They are going to tell you everything about the moment they knew, about the terror that followed, about the narrative they constructed to justify their absence, about the nights they spent convincing themselves they were your karmic lesson when really they were just afraid. They are going to beg for your understanding. They are going to ask if there is any room for them in the life you have built without them. And when they do, you are going to feel the full force of every unanswered question, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt they gifted you, all rushing back to your chest like a tidal wave. And in that moment, Virgo, you are going to have a choice. Not the choice your wounded heart wants to make. Not the choice that rushes to forgive because forgiveness feels like relief. Not the choice that opens the door wide because their return validates the love you never stopped feeling, but the choice that your evolved self must make. The choice that asks, has this person actually changed, or are they simply exhausted from the weight of their own performance? Have they done the work, or are they just tired of being alone in the prison they built? Is their return an offering, or is it a surrender? Because there is a difference between someone who comes back because they have become someone new and someone who comes back because they could not survive being someone old without you. The first is a gift. The second is a burden. And you, Virgo, have carried enough. You do not owe them your reception, Virgo. You do not owe them your forgiveness on their timeline. You do not owe them the comfort of knowing that their absence did not destroy you, even though it did not. You do not owe them the satisfaction of watching you collapse into their arms and say, I knew you would come back. You owe them nothing, not because they are evil, but because you are sovereign. Because your love is not a rehabilitation center for people who run from their own potential. Because your heart is not a waiting room for cowards who mistake fear for nobility. If they want you, they must earn their way back into your orbit, not with words, not with tears, not with dramatic declarations of a love that was always there but never brave enough to stay. They must earn it with consistency, with accountability, with the boring, daily, unglamorous proof that they are no longer the person who believed your light would be dimmed by their darkness. They must prove that they understand the fundamental truth they missed. You were never the one who needed saving. They were. The love they feel is real, Virgo. I will not deny that. It is as real as the floor beneath your feet, as real as the breath in your lungs. But real love is not enough. Real love without courage is just a beautiful cage. Real love without action is just a haunting. Real love without the willingness to become someone worthy of the beloved is just narcissism wearing a mask of devotion. And you are done being haunted. You are done being the muse for someone else's tragic narrative. You are done being the destination that people dream of but never buy the ticket for. So let them stay away, Virgo. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them marinate in the love they are too afraid to claim. Let them watch from the shadows as you continue to rise, not because you are trying to prove anything to them, but because rising is simply what you do. Let them see that your evolution was never dependent on their absence. Let them understand that they were not the architect of your awakening. They were merely a witness who chose to watch from the balcony instead of standing beside you on the stage. And if they ever find the courage to descend, to buy a ticket, to take a seat in the audience of your life, and then finally to join you under the lights, let them come as an equal, not as a martyr, not as a savior, not as a penitent seeking absolution, but as a partner, whole, healed, ready, willing to do the work not because you demand it, but because they finally understand that love is not a feeling you run from, it is a choice you run toward. Every single day, without exception, without drama, without the delusion that absence is a gift. You are not their lesson, Virgo. You are not their sacrifice. You are not the ghost that will haunt them into greatness. You are a living, breathing, radiant being who deserves to be chosen in the present tense by someone who is present enough to choose you. And if this person cannot be that someone, then their love, however real, however deep, however painfully they carry it in the dark, is simply not enough. Let it be their burden. Let it be their cross. Let it be the weight that finally breaks the delusion and teaches them that love without courage is just another word for cowardice. You have your own road to walk. You have your own light to tend. You have your own future to build, and that future does not include waiting for someone to realize that staying away was never the noble act they imagined. It was just the first chapter of a story they were too afraid to finish. If this message found the exact wound their silence left behind, if you felt the truth of their love and the lie of their absence vibrating through every word, then claim your sovereignty right now. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment below declaring that you are not a karmic lesson, you are not a sacrifice, and you will not wait for someone to become brave enough to love you properly. Speak it, anchor it, make it real in the physical world by putting your power behind it. The universe is listening, Virgo, and what you claim out loud becomes the law of your life. There is more love coming for you. Real love, present love, love that does not run, love that does not hide, love that shows up. But first, you must close the door on the love that mistakes absence for devotion. You must turn your face toward the sun and let the shadows fall where they may. Stay sovereign, stay shining, and let the world watch what happens when a Virgo stops waiting for ghosts and starts building a life too bright for the living to ignore.